Which is worse, surviving in a frozen wasteland or a blazing volcano? I spent 24 hours in Once Human: The Way of Winter, with climate extremes stone colder than Steve Austin, and hotter than, well...
Every time I walk outside, I get crispier and I get harder. It's hotter than Popeye's grease right now.
Yeah, it's hot. And this post-apocalyptic world is being threatened by a man named Igna Sinclair. Kinda reminds me of Lord Farquaad, who is engineering a living army of deviants and using the climate to take over the tri-state area. There's only one man that can stop him. Meet Carl. He's, well, he's got a nose and some eyes. Yeah, the world's done for. On hour 1, I spawned inside of a test tube, and 3 seconds later, I emancipated this knife from the tyranny of Carl's ribcage. Well, that was painful. Luckily, there was a first aid kit conveniently located next to Carl's pinky toe. And after injecting some foreign substances into my forearm, I had never felt better. I really hope that wasn't heroin. I then speed ran this canned meat and boiled water that I found inside, and I snuck a peek at the doctor's notes on Carl. Apparently 10 minutes ago, Carl had no sign of life. Oh, how the turns have tabled. Anyways, after I hacked into the mainframe, I also looted this keycard to get through the door, and once I was inside, Carl started hallucinating, having visions of what it would be like to wear a backpack. And after making his dreams come true, Carl proceeded to have a chat with this talking bird.
I don't know who you are, but I know what you are.
But he recognized that Carl was a metahuman, as indicated on the doctor's notes earlier, and he wanted my help with a quest. So I obliged, and we stepped into the Shadow Realm. I then found this machete in a bag, and now that Carl was armed and dangerous, I snuck up and backstabbed this innocent civilian with the sole purpose of stealing his flatbread. Apparently, these guys are called deviants, meaning they are infected with Stardust, and that makes them the enemy. But we'll learn more about that later. Anyways, after searching the area, I looted some new Air Jordans from this box and used them to dodge and exterminate a degenerate. There was this after image here, and apparently Carl thinks it's socially acceptable to touch random women, but it turns out this was a portal into the other realm. And I harvested this origami butterfly guy. This was Carl's very first deviation, which is kind of like a companion slash special ability, but more on that later. Anyways, after Carl touched a random lady again, it was time to enter the post-apocalyptic world.
Yes, and look what I found.
Hi. I'm Carl. So with an attack looming, I prepared for war and headed into the battlefield. But first, I had to tell my enemies to wait a minute because the tutorial wanted me to grind materials.
Then we lay low.
I used the materials to set up a camp, which is basically just a respawn point. And this moment is when Carl met the villain of his story.
My name's Igna Sinclair, leader and founder of the Vultures. I'll swat you down, Mayfly, and have no trouble ripping off your wings.
This dude started from the creation of the universe, telling Carl his entire life story. He was now in his villain era, and he planned to control the deviants and take over the winter world.
And light a new way forward.
He didn't hide his intentions.
And Carl and his talking bird were gonna hunt him down.
Good luck, Meta.
My name is Carl. On hour 2, Carl spawned in Whalebone, confused, naked, and afraid. It was very cold, and I was hungry and thirsty. So I ate a can of Chef Boyardee raviolis, drank some Fiji water, and we met up with Carl's friend, Chad. I decided to bring a friend along for this run because this game is online only, and it's just so much more fun played in multiplayer. So together, we followed the giant whale skeleton over to this red house, where Carl reunited with his bird friend and was informed that it was cold outside. You don't say. Our bird friend gave us the task of building a base and a fire to stay warm. The temperature mechanics are one of the biggest parts of this update, as there's two extremes with a volcano area, which is probably hot, and a frozen mountain, which is cold, I would assume. The temperature starts out fairly mild, but once you get to phase 3 and 4, let's just say you better have all the gear set up at that point. Anyways, we need to be prepared for when that happens, so I need some resources. So I harvested this rock with the rock. I picked up some logs that I found over in the grass, and I set up a campsite to craft a pickaxe and a torch to stay warm. So now that Carl harnessed the power of fire, he still needed some clothing, because public nudity is an apocalyptic crime. So I used the rest of my life savings to craft some throwing knives, a crossbow, and some arrows, which I then used to send Carl into stealth mode, sneak up, and commit a war crime against this reindeer. Rest in peace to Rudolph the Dead-Nosed Reindeer. And And now that Carl had an axe, he was able to harvest trees alone, and he was also able to harvest trees together. Anyways, after he finished his playdate, I made some armor to clothe Carl, because nobody wants to see that, and we regrouped with our talking bird, who informed me of some survivors in a city called Whalebone. It was down the cliff, so I approached the red building.
Identify yourself. There are 20 guns aimed at you.
At first, she was hostile, but when she realized Carl was wearing a backpack,
Your big, weird backpack?
her whole attitude changed. She realized Carl was a metahuman, which means his backpack can actually control the deviations. We'll see a lot more on that later. I'm Carl the Destroyer, and I'm here to eliminate the madman Igna. Igna was the leader of the Vultures, who we saw back in the tutorial. We'll be seeing a lot of him later. Anyways, Maisley was down to help, but first she needed to make sure that she could trust Carl. So she sent Carl on a side quest to save the town from a deviant that was taking over. And after robbing Maisley's house and scouting the location from above, Carl perished. Yeah, apparently it's 0 degrees Celsius right now. Unfortunately, Carl is American, and he doesn't know what that means.
What beats the United States of America? Obesity? No, wait, the metric system! Yeah!
Anyways, I needed to unlock some metrics? I don't know if I pronounced that right, so we're gonna call them memes. Essentially, memes are things that you can unlock inside of Carl's brain, and essentially they work just like engrams in Ark or crafting recipes, whatever you want to call them. And with his newfound knowledge, Carl set up some foundations for a base, but he was too broke to do anything more than that. So for now, it's time to continue our quest. By the way, if you've never played Once Human before, it's a completely free-to-play game, and they were nice enough to give me early access to make this video for the update. So if you want to get started on this open world post-apocalyptic survival game, you can download it today using the link in the description below. And if you use the promo code JUSTIFYOH, you'll get a bunch of free gifts to get you started on the new update. So let's get right back into it, and thank you to Once Human for sponsoring this video. So at the start of Hour 3, we descended into Whalebone. Nice, nice. Well, after Carl broke his kneecaps. After making it into civilization and unlocking this fast travel point, we perused the local shops. And this woman named Nisa here was selling loot crates and motorcycle skins. But unfortunately, Carl is unemployed. And over by the campfire, I met Whalebone's leader, this botanist who apparently plays Plants vs. Zombies IRL.
I have been trying to develop weapons from potatoes and peas. Bravery isn't enough.
And in true NPC fashion, the botanist isn't gonna do anything himself.
I don't know anything about warfare.
Instead, trusting Carl to save the entire town from a deviant. Yeah, the town's done for. Anyways, I then talked to this gentleman that kinda looked like he wanted to sell me a used car, and apparently this businessman has little side quests to find and catch deviations.
There is an extra benefit.
If you've never played the game before, deviations are the little special companions / abilities like the origami butterfly from the tutorial. You hold them in your backpack, and just like the pals in Pal World, they can help with anything ranging from base upkeep to combat. And speaking of base upkeep, I wasn't gonna be able to get much further being homeless, and as we established earlier, Carl is unemployed. We needed some wood, so I put Carl to work. Ow, bro, chill. And after a long day's work, it was now Hour 4, and it was time to set up the foundations and a disassembly bench for my journey quest. The orange journey quest is all about progressing your base and gear, while the yellow main quest line is, well, a main quest line. Anyways, I used my brand new disassembly bench to break down some useless junk into materials for crafting. I also made a storage box, a bed, a supplies workbench where I upgraded to a copper pickaxe, and finally I constructed a furnace where I cooked some charcoal to smelt some more copper ingots. I then used said copper ingots to make a gear workbench, and in here I can make better armor and weapons. I was all out of stone though, so I forced Carl to work some overtime. And over in the wilderness, I found a tin rock. Tin is one step above copper and used to make bronze tools. But when Carl physically assaulted the tin rock, a Digby deviation spawned in from the ether. All Carl had to do was grab the guy.
Firmly grasp it!
But unfortunately, the Digby slipped away from Carl's firm grasp, but after one more attempt, he was finally domesticated. Carl had his very first deviant. I found an aluminum rock over here as well, but I needed a better pickaxe first, so I headed back to my humble abode to make some securement units for these deviants to live in. I had everything required except for glass. So after crafting a helmet and smelting some glass, I placed down 2 securement units. I don't have the butterfly on this early access server because I didn't actually do the tutorial, but Digby was ready for his 25-hour shift, with no pay of course. Yeah, Carl failed his ethics class. I kinda wanted to see how Digby operated, so I watched him as he found a rock near the freeway, and he's either having a seizure right now or is the most efficient blue-collar worker known to man. Are you okay? Digby was fine, but Carl was getting colder and colder by the hour, and this would definitely become an issue.
It's good to see you looking like a proper mayfly again.
That's what a mayfly looks like, I guess. Anyways, it's time to take down Igna the Madman. We don't know much about him yet, but he's the leader of the Vultures, the group that is using deviants for very nefarious things. I was also prompted to check out Eternal Land before continuing, which is this main hub area that you can keep building up and transferring over between wipes, which is pretty cool, but we'll mess with that later. Before we could take on Igna, we needed to go to Fiskur Harbor to turn back on the power. But it's 1.3 kilometers away, and on top of Carl having toothpick-sized legs,
have you seen my shins? They're like sticks.
We almost turned into a snow cone just walking 10 feet in that direction. So first, we need to make a garage and craft Carl some wheels. The cheapest vehicle in Once Human is a motorcycle, but we didn't even have the rustic parts for a garage. It looked like it was time to go pillaging. And for the first time ever, Carl was about to get his hands dirty. This area was pretty barren due to a cold that only Canadians could love. The reason we were here is because there were some campsites nearby for loot. However, they were infested with degenerates. These guys used to be human. They were once human, dare I say. But now they're infected with Stardust, and the locals call them deviants. Not to be confused with deviations like the Digby from earlier. Anyways, Carl and Chad continued deleting some infected souls and ravaging their entire life savings from these loot crates. Some of the loot may seem garbage, but when we use the disassembly bench, all of this literal trash becomes valuable resources. And Carl and Chad were just getting started.
Goodbye, brother.
So after Carl dangled on this wire above a cliff and then witnessed Chad strangle an innocent civilian, we emancipated the rest of the happy campers from their meaningless existence and then fast traveled back to base. Back at base, I disassembled an entire hardware store and expanded my base by laying out some more foundations. I'm definitely gonna move later when I find a better location, and when I do, I'll put more effort into making it not look like a square. Anyways, Carl now has wheels, but he's still not wearing shoes. And now, with 2 entire members in their motorbike gang, Carl and Chad decided to race to Fiskur Harbor for the botanist quest. It was very cold, and halfway through the road trip, hypothermia started to take over Carl's nervous system. No. Unlock. Oh, thank God. I don't know how I managed to do that, but since I grabbed the fast travel point before I died, I was able to come right back. And somehow Chad was perfectly fine. Bro, how are you not cold?
I don't know what you've done that's like different.
I wasn't exactly sure why I was getting hypothermia so fast at the time, so I decided to make some boots, and that seemed to solve the issue at first.
Your feetsies are a little too cold, huh?
But 10 minutes later, at the end of hour 6, this happened. Yeah, apparently hypothermia does not go away upon death, and all I would have had to do is just sit by the fire in my base for a few minutes, but at the time I thought that dying would reset it, and yeah, I was having a rough time to say the least. Anyways, my next attempt involved a shortcut. A shortcut to death. But on the way to the harbor, we found this army camp. So we went in to investigate and were immediately met with Rosetta Stone soldiers. Yo, I'm dying again. And at this moment, after realizing that this hasn't happened to Chad a single time, Carl assumed that Chad was either cold-blooded or something else was going on. Oh, dude, hypothermia doesn't reset when you die. So after making that revelation, Carl set out to chop up some trees and use the logs to make a campfire. And then I just kind of stood here incubating Carl, and after a few minutes, his body temperature had returned back to normal and the hypothermia was gone. I had to do some repairs on my motorcycle, but it wasn't long before we were back on the road. And I now had a much better understanding of the temperature mechanic. Essentially, the top right icon cannot be in the blue for too long, unless of course you like hypothermia. And there's different ways to combat this, but I didn't have the resources at the time. So as a temporary workaround, I just had to keep going back to my base to increase my body temperature every now and then. Anyways, I finally made it, and we can continue our quest. The town of Fiskur Harbor was massive, creepy, and cold. There was a big bonfire here, but it didn't actually increase my body temperature enough, so I had to set up a campsite respawn point. I then talked to the lady on this bridge.
Holy crap, somebody actually came.
Who was Carl's contact for the mission. She informed us that there were ghosts inside the harbor, and Carl was going to take them down by turning back on the power. So she gave Carl a shock baton, and we now have to make our way to the control room. The torch was definitely the best option here, not because it was a good weapon, but because if I use my crossbow, Carl will immediately develop hypothermia. Anyways, we set fire to various harbor-inhabiting sociopaths. That's a big fish. And it didn't take long before we made it to the back of the harbor. There were some, like, breaker cylinder things here, so I equipped Carl's stun baton, because when you're not sure how to fix something, the best course of action is always to smack it with a stick. And thanks to Carl's bravery, the power was now restored. And with it, the shadow deviants have been eliminated from this world. However, there was still an elite enemy at the harbor, because every single area in this game has their own little mini boss fight. I decided to try and fight him, but then I contracted hypothermia. I didn't have my torch out because of the stun baton, and yeah, I perished. What's wrong, buddy? You didn't know Carl could respawn? So I headed back to the bridge to tell Cora of Carl's triumph. She asked Carl who sent him, and I proceeded to tell her about the Plants vs. Zombies guy.
That nerd sent you?
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
She was grateful that the Shadow Deviants had been run out of the harbor though, and it was now time to head back to Whalebone. But first, I headed back to base where I disassembled a small family business worth of merchandise, unlocked 23 terabytes worth of memes, and I wanted to make some firearms, but I needed beryllium, which I did not have yet. The description says it can be found in level 11 to 20 strongholds, so we'll definitely be checking that out soon. Anyways, after farming an all-you-can-eat buffet of resources, Hour 8 came to an end. On Hour 9, I incubated Carl so he doesn't freeze to death. We headed back down using the Whalebone as a staircase and informed the Plants vs. Zombies guy that the power bill had been paid.
You helped all of Whalebone.
He then proceeded to tell us about a convoy that needed to be escorted.
I need to help them.
Translation, Carl is going to help them, and this guy is going to stand here like an NPC. And Carl, being the good unpaid intern that he is, obliged. So we met with the transport captain to escort the convoy.
Okay, I've marked the convoy's route on your map. If you spot any of the scum, eliminate them all to protect the convoy.
This mission was serious, so we got the motorcycle gang back together, and over on the freeway, we met Veronica.
State your name and business.
It's nice to officially meet you for the first time.
Veronica was here to help.
Thanks for your hard work.
And the raiders had already found our convoy. These guys had firearms, and Carl only had a crossbow. Luckily, their aim was absolutely horrendous, but after some bullet and arrow exchanges, Carl somehow got ignited on fire, which I guess is kind of a good thing since he's always cold. If you guys know someone that's always cold, tag them in the comments so they can see the easy solution.
Chat, am I cooked?
Anyways, I ran out of ammo, so I had to finish them off with a torch, but luckily you can get your arrows back from their body.
Okay, that was hard.
I haven't seen any rocket launchers.
Just wait, buddy.
These rocket launcher guys had literal aimbot. I had a couple self-revives, but not many. Luckily, Veronica was actually helping, and I was not expecting that, to be honest. I don't even know how I'm supposed to avoid that, but Carl was down to his very last adrenaline shot. If he dies again, it's all over. And it all came down to the very last vulture. He was just looking off into the distance, not even paying attention to the battlefield where all the other vultures were trying to dissect Carl. And while he was slacking on the job, I snuck right up behind him. But then, this happened. Oh! Luckily, he missed, and Carl put him in the burner. And Carl, being an unpaid intern and everything, got nothing in return for saving the world. But after continuing on the path, we realized we needed to go up the snowy mountain. And it was -8 degrees. It's kinda chilly out today. Hypothermia was starting to set in, so I quickly set up a campsite and then I deceased. On hour 10, as Carl treated his illness with flames, I was trying to figure out how to keep my body temperature higher, as the torch only increases it by 5 degrees and it definitely isn't enough for that area. I managed to set back out and made it to Bear's Den to grab the fast travel point, but it was way too cold for me to stay here for more than a few minutes. So I had to rid myself of hypothermia again, and I realized that all of my armor is broken, probably because it takes damage when I die from the cold. And I didn't have the leather scraps to repair it, but I did have everything to make a full set. So I just did that. And now I'm not freezing when my body temperature is above 0, but that's still not really enough. So I researched a bunch of memes, and I found some thermal rocks under the Polar Expedition category. I probably should have seen this earlier, but long story short, I made some thermonium, which I used to make helium. Helium is a rock that, when in your inventory, increases your cold resistance by 10 for an hour. I made 2, but I realized that they don't stack, so you really just have to keep making a new one every hour. But yeah, it definitely works. As you can see from Carl's cold meter, he's an absolute tank now. Anyways, Carl and Chad both still needed to upgrade their weapons, and the only resource that we were missing was beryllium. So we checked our map, and Fiskur Harbor from the last quest was actually the correct level range for beryllium. So we decided to go back there and see what we can find. So after looting most of the harbor, we found this big Ord Keeper guy that looks like he's getting crucified. And then Carl's coordination failed him and he fell into the water. Bro swims like a fish. The Ord Keeper was just kind of sitting here, not really doing anything, and he was only level 5. Like, how hard can that be? So Carl gave him a little heated tap to test, and then he proceeded to lodge an arrow into his street light looking forehead. Oh no. I wasn't even paying attention, and I have no more ammo. And Chad only had a few bolts left. This was definitely a bad idea. Bro, he is messing you up. The Ord Keeper was clearly not messing around. So after Chad revived Carl, we got out of there as fast as possible.
I know he's gonna start flying, bro.
That guy was level 5. We continued looting the back area of the harbor, but then this happened.
Oh my god, it's still there!
Oh no. Carl's survival instincts kicked in, and he tried to run away, but then 5 seconds later, when I turned around, Chad left me to die, and he's ascending up a construction tower right now.
I'm safe here.
Carl was abandoned, and all on his lonesome. It wasn't long before Carl got Control-Alt-Deleted. But Chad flew down to Carl's rescue, and after looting the red mystical crate, which is kind of like the big final loot of the area, we traversed to the top of the tower. There's literally nothing here. And after that disappointment, we decided to head back home.
I literally have 3 indentured servants.
After disassembling some rubbish, I had just enough beryllium for an SMG and a sniper. I thought it was a good combination to cover both close range and long range, but it definitely would be nice to have an assault rifle as well. So now, in his new pink hoodie, Carl is armed and dangerous. But he still needs ammo for the weapons, and unfortunately, Carl is very poor. I never have enough wood. So with all of my newfound riches, I crafted some more submachine gun ammo, a bronze pickaxe, queued up 3 entire stacks of charcoal in the furnace, and made 1 more thermal rock because they only last for an hour. And it was almost time to talk to Veronica, but first we had some unfinished business to attend to. Oh wait, before we do that, you want to go kill that guy that just messed us up?
Yeah, he's getting worked.
Apparently, this guy can turn his traffic light head from green to red, which freezes people in place because disobeying traffic laws is a crime. Luckily, when it happened, we managed to cover for each other. How is this dude only level 5?
I'm frozen, help!
But it didn't exactly go as planned. Oh no.
Red light, green light with you, dude?
Yeah, he's playing red light, green light, bro. We're not in Squid Game. And just like that, Mr. Traffic Light will no longer terrorize the world. Or at the very least, Fiskur Harbor. I made a quick pit stop at base and crafted some more ammo. The sniper is insanely efficient because it crafts almost as much ammo as machine guns, but it only takes like one shot to kill things. Anyways, it was now time to go to Bear's Den to talk to Veronica. Negative 18 degrees? Bro, I'm gonna die. Well, there's a coffee shop. I need that right now.
You probably got iced coffee there, huh?
Anyways, Veronica is in charge right now while Roland was missing.
I don't know if I'm a natural leader, but someone had to step up.
And she wanted Carl to do some investigating into the Vultures, the psychopaths that ambushed our convoy with rocket launchers earlier.
Of course.
But before I could do that, Carl contracted hypothermia. Oh, not again. After that death, I took a break from playing the game for a minute and went to eat dinner. But when I came back, I got this text from Aqua. Apparently, Phase 3 had already began, and we were a bit behind in our progression because we joined the server late. This means it's much colder now, and we couldn't even leave our base without dying from hypothermia. Luckily, on hour 13, Chad was just high enough level to make some lanterns, which can increase or decrease your temperature in accordance with how cold it is. And after some hypothermic related difficulties, I manipulated Chad into donating Carl a lantern. Carl was still frozen, so I crafted another helium rock. I perished. And then I incubated Carl's little frozen legs. The hypothermia was now at bay, but we still can't survive outside. We really needed to move bases. So we decided to fast travel to the harbor teleportation point, and we were good to cross the bridge. But then this area was worse. There were giant tentacles and Carl was scared. But luckily there was another fast travel point. And while we were standing next to the teleporter, Chad and Carl were both okay. But then we looked up. Exterminator level 40? Whoa, is that him? You see him up there?
I give him a little welcome to Wasteland.
And Carl, with his questionable levels of intelligence, just couldn't help himself. Oh! Carl got deleted. Anyways, let's stay away from that. I needed to make it all the way over here for the quest without freezing, because there's a group of vultures making a transport and we need to intercept it. These tentacles are apparently wishland, more like hypothermia land, and riding the motorcycle made us even colder at high speeds, which does make sense, I guess, but we were both about to get hypothermia, so we decided to stop and put down a campsite, or at least I tried to. Oh no.
Hit a log, hit a log, hit a log. You only need 10, you only need 10.
I need a stone. I need a stone. Where are the stones? Hold on, I'm gonna die. Luckily, we realized that we weren't as cold as we were on the motorcycle, and if we just stood still with our torch and lantern, we actually could survive.
You just can't move at all. You just can't move at all.
So we stood outside Mr. Wish's paradise, who is apparently a deviant that we can capture. Anyways, we continued on admiring the frozen landscape, and once we unlocked the fast travel point, nightfall began to approach. This was bad, because night means even more cold, and we were approaching imminent demise. So we went back to Chad's crib for the night and roasted Carl by the open fire.
I can't sleep without getting insanely cold. That's cool. Much better.
We were still very far away, bro. There's literally a polar bear here, and there was no way we were making it before hypothermia set in. So I stopped on the side of the road here. I didn't want to, but my motorcycle ran out of gas, and set up a respawn point. Clearly, nighttime was a bad idea, so we waited out until morning. For real this time. On hour 14, probably a little bit earlier than we should have, we set back out. But once we crossed over the bridge, Chad ran out of gas.
Out of fuel.
But also, it wasn't snowing here, and we weren't dying from the cold.
I won.
However, a new threat showed up, and this one had guns. Bro, someone's shooting me. When we arrived, I mined some rocks and set up a campsite. It seems like we're about to break into a maximum security military facility owned by Rosetta Stone. The Vultures definitely had something to do with this, and we were about to find out.
I'm exhausted carrying this load.
Carl entered the tower to rain death from above, while Chad used his SMG to get close and personal. We looted basically everything, and after a couple more Control-Alt deletions, we rode up this elevator onto the roof where Carl got assaulted by the drone uprising. But after neutralizing the threats, we descended into the lab. I wasn't quite sure what was going on down here just yet, but according to these whiteboards, they were inventing shrinkinators on one and doing vector calculus on on the other. We then stepped foot into this creepy red lab that looked like it was triggering several alarm systems. I wasn't really paying too much attention to what was going on in here, but I found a loot crate, and I'll have to explore this room later because right now, Rosetta backup had arrived. Despite the whole mafia trying to assassinate Carl, we came out unscathed and we started to investigate the meeting room.
They're dissecting something here.
After beating an armored soldier with a torch, the truth had come to light.
They're hatching living machines.
I also spoke to this researcher who informed me of the situation.
I've already taken a cyanide capsule.
It was now or never, and the only person that could stop the Vultures is a man named Carl. So we wasted no time and headed back down the elevator, and we rushed towards the central lab. As we approached the door, snipers appeared on the rooftop above, and infantry was approaching Carl's flank. After Carl brought his sniper through a metal detector and rained death upon a lab assistant with an MP7. Always smile. Please restock newspapers, Jack. No texting on the job. Customers can be jerks. I hate my job. We finally made it outside. The temperature in this central area had dropped significantly, and it didn't take long before Carl shivered his way to the afterlife. No, dude,
No way,
I'm
you
gonna
have to
have
fight
to
your
do
way back up
all of
here?
that again. I'm not gonna make you watch me do all that again, but eventually I made it back. And Carl's talking bird friend informed him of what they were looking at.
I think they were trying to decipher the machine's pheromones.
This was the nest that was breeding their army, and the Vultures weren't messing around. Veronica had warned us about this, and we had to go back and tell her. But first, I wanted to investigate further. This place looked insanely interesting. So I jumped down and parachuted into the hive. It was low-key disgusting, but I also found these jump pads, which allowed me to climb to the top of whatever this is. As I approached the top, I witnessed alien-like deviants hatching from eggs. It seems that the Vultures are controlling them. Yeah, this place is terrifying. It was also getting really cold, but I needed to get to the bottom of this, or the top of this, I guess. Once I ascended to the top, I found this red mystical crate with some upgraded gear blueprints inside. I then realized why this place is called Hiverail. Bro took the midnight train going anywhere. Anyways, it was time to get out of here, so I parachuted back down, grabbed the rift anchor, which alerted the entire FBI, and Carl was now surrounded. But after running to his mother and cowering in fear in this corner, Carl remembered that he can literally just teleport, and he headed home. Losers. On hour 16, I took refuge from Mr. Blizzard in Chad's cottage. You got 3 Digbees, bro? Bro, you're over here with electric furnaces and solar power. All I have is a torch. Anyways, I headed back to Bear's Den to talk to Veronica, who is somehow tanking negative 20-degree weather all day long, and I told her about what they were doing in that hive.
Then it's bad. Extremely bad.
Apparently, the Vultures are responsible for this insane cold as well. I guess they're trying to ice out Carl. She needed Carl to gather intel on how to take them down. The Vultures' next camp is in the west, and we decided that if over in the west it's a little bit warmer, we should move our base because this is getting bad.
And we can move our base hopefully out west.
So we set out for the west. It was getting colder and colder, and in 30 seconds, Carl was gonna be toast. There's no way I'm making it out. But then this happened.
No, we're here. We're up again. We're up.
Oh yeah, we are up. Nice.
We up, baby.
The west was a safe haven. The snow had stopped. I found fuel in this car's trunk, and there was a fast travel point. In fact, I wasn't even freezing without a torch. To top it all off, there were also iron rocks here to make steel and some tungsten, which is too advanced for Carl's brain at the moment, but I definitely want that later. This was the perfect location to set up a new base. So after Chad discovered that you can just move your entire base, I decided to move in across the street. Oh, there's a boar. Never mind. The reason it looks so bad is because I didn't know I could move it, so I just didn't care before. But since this is permanent, I think it's time to renovate. Alright, so for the house tour, we have the Digby on the balcony here, overlooking Chad's pathetic home. And inside, we've got some crafting areas, and we've got a place for Carl to sleep. And over here on the front porch, we have the garage for the motorcycle. Okay, yeah, maybe this isn't that great. I'm gonna make it better later, alright? Anyways, I then upgraded to an intermediate supplies workbench, cooked up some food, and I had a journey quest to create a hive, which is like a clan. So, I obliged. And I invited Chad to Carl's new club. Oh, Carl is gonna have a power trip over this. Anyways, I paused the base building for now, because it was hour 17, and it was time to investigate Frost Forge. We made a couple pit stops to loot some scrap cars for fuel on the way, but when we arrived,
Doesn't look very inviting, does it?
we were met with a clan of vultures, and they were wielding flamethrowers. Some of them preferred to get up close and personal with a giant mechanical drill. And after some precision sniping from this tower, I witnessed Chad spray an entire clip into this man, and we realized,
Oh god, we need better weapons than that. Oh lord.
yeah, it's pretty bad at this point. We were already here though, so we decided to continue on, and after barrel stuffing this dude welding a rocket launcher, we came across the elite enemy. Yo, this guy's huge. So I started shooting, and the dude just shrugged it off like he was getting pelted with toothpicks. Yeah, this was gonna take a while.
I see him now, I see him now.
Do we need
Backpack, shoot him from the back, below, shoot him back.
Eventually, he got distracted on Chad, and I was able to shoot his flame tank from behind. And it was going pretty well, at least for Carl it was.
No.
It took a while, but after a few more headshots to his vulture-shaped face, he was down. We looted some keycards from this crate, and then Chad went AFK. So I was just kind of sitting here on my phone.
Don't move. Shh. Don't move. Don't move. He doesn't see us,
Does he not see us?
Uh-oh.
Anyways, we entered the red doorway, and once inside, Carl immediately started getting blasted in the face. These miscreants somehow got their hands on some RPGs. Dude, I almost just died right there. We climbed a series of weird portal doorways to find this gear crate, which gave a deviation weapon mod. And then I was kind of exploring the area, and I went skydiving involuntarily.
Did you just fall off?
The next area was filled with apocalyptic sociopaths. Watch out, watch out, watch out! But eventually we made it to the tunnel. And this tunnel is how we're going to invade their main base. There was aluminum, which I still can't get because Carl is uncivilized. Oh, I never made a copper pickaxe, or a bronze pickaxe. But Chad actually could.
I have plenty of that, dude. I have alloy. I have one made from a Tunchkin, buddy.
Yeah, I really need to catch up with the times. That's probably why it takes 2 clips to disintegrate these dudes. Anyways, Chad proceeded to mine the tungsten here while Carl watched in amazement. And after we took a series of zip lines that seemed a bit unnecessary to be honest, we found this cold crystal. Wait, how do we grab this? We eventually figured out that you have to heat the crystal up in order to gather it. Wait, I want to try something. And after being boiled, it was now able to be harvested, but I needed a better pickaxe. However, Chad could mine the microwave dice rock, and this is actually how you make chaosium, which is used as fuel in the lanterns and other advanced thermal technology to not be cold all the time. You just want to like ignore those guys. In the next area, we found this magician-looking guy.
You're a wizard, Harry.
We tried to fight him, but his health is insane, and we were really low on ammo. We figured out that his immunity mechanic was to destroy these red cats that he was spawning in. But soon he started shooting lasers for massive damage, and the cats became bears, which were much stronger.
Oh, you're down?
It was safe to say that we probably weren't going to be able to do this unless we had better weapons. So after using our last adrenaline shots to self-revive, we had to flee the scene. Over on the side of the chamber, we found this scientist.
Please don't kill me. Please. I'm just a scientist.
We just want to know how to turn off the machine.
Thing is, you can't really.
Carl wasn't going to take no for an answer, so he continued on despite only having sniper ammo. We were able to make it pretty far up the levels just using our melee attacks to eviscerate these vulture-like gentlemen, and after collecting several instances of chaosium, we overloaded the furnace behind this magician.
Now it's time to get out of here before this thing explodes.
Someone getting tired of living?
And we got out of there. Oh no, it spit me back out. I tried to climb back up, but then this happened. Ow, yo! Well, I guess I did technically make it out of there. The quest didn't specify being alive. Anyways, we obviously needed better weapons. So on hour 20, Carl and Chad began to grind. Oh, dude, it just jumps up to burning. That is insane. Okay, yeah, don't go over there. And now that Carl's backpack was full of tungsten, it was very expensive, but we decided to build a thermal tower. These thermal towers have a massive range, and they can heat up or cool down the surrounding areas to match whatever temperature you need to survive. And there's even some upgrades that you can do, but it requires ice rocks, which we don't have much of yet, but we did get a few when we threw the Molotovs at them in that cave earlier. Anyways, this keeps the temperature around our base regulated, but we weren't going to stick around for a while, because on hour 21, Carl and Chad found themselves right outside of a level 37 research center.
Fire God Research Center.
We had all the resources to make tier 4 weapons, but we still were lacking the materials that were found in level 30 to 40 strongholds. Level 30 to 40 strongholds just like this Fire God Research Center. But unfortunately, we're still using tier 2 weapons. This is gonna be difficult. We were looting absolutely everything, and Carl could already hear that tier 4 assault rifle calling his name. But it definitely wasn't gonna be easy, as the sniper that Carl is currently using is dealing less than 1,000 damage, even on headshots. It wasn't even worth trying his SMG, but luckily Chad had a tier 3 assault rifle, which wasn't completely useless. While we were here, we activated the Rift Anchor, because just like in the old scenario, you still need to activate these to gain access to boss fights. But then, after saving Chad's life,
help, there's a sniper on me, help.
I made my way to the top of the guard tower, because there was an elite enemy below. Carl rained death from above, while Chad got up close and personal with this very large man. The Rosetta Heavy low-key had aimbot, but when he started shooting at Carl and I took cover, Chad was damaging from the flank. And when he shot at Chad, it was Carl's turn to shine. After that massive victory, Carl descended down on his talking bird, and we looted a Rosetta access card from that heavy. We were now able to make it inside of the volcano facility. But first, we had to take out some hooligans.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
And after running a 50-yard dash through this hallway, quick scoping a miscreant, and setting fire to a heathen, we made it inside. Yes, you are, buddy. I'm not exactly sure what was going on in here, but the giant crater with lava in it coming from the floor was definitely concerning. It most likely has something to do with Rosetta Stone's master plan to make the world bilingual. Oh! Carl almost went to the afterlife right there, but we survived, and after injecting a mystery substance into Carl's forearm,
I used to do drugs, I still do, but I used to too.
We continued on, and I only had one activator left.
I'm dropping low, you stay up top here.
So we continued on, but Rosetta was definitely not making this easy. Anyways, after barrel stuffing a sociopath and then stealing his boxing gloves from his office, we made our way down this spiral staircase and we found ourselves in the hive. Well, the heat was definitely a nice change of pace, but while I was AFK for a minute, Chad continued without me, and when I came back, Chad was getting harassed by this war veteran with a riot shield. This guy wasn't too difficult though, because as he got distracted on Chad, I was able to easily take him down.
You're about to knock me off the map, dude.
There's lava right there.
I know, you're about to damn knock me off. Dude, move!
We looted another Rosetta access card, and while this security guard was trying to annihilate Carl, Chad was off in the distance playing a puzzle game.
The blue frame burst. I don't think it's done puzzle I can do.
There was a blue square on the ground here, but there were still some Rosetta soldiers left, so we decided to clear out the rest of the area, that way we could solve this in peace. And with all of the menaces cleared, we made it to this central area where we jumped across these electric things to grab the red mystical crate. Oh no. Anyways, it's hour 22 now, and this time I actually made it across the gap without roasting Carl. And this red loot crate was kind of insane. This blueprint was for a purple rarity tier 4 assault rifle. I wasn't exactly sure before which tier 4 weapon I was going to craft, but at this point, yeah, we're crafting the assault rifle. Anyways, we made it back over to Chad's blue square, and we still weren't exactly sure what to do. The door says that there's a letter puzzle within the blue frame, but nothing happens when we step inside. Dude, I don't know what we're supposed to be looking at. But after some confusion, Carl noticed something.
Where?
You see on the wall there, like they line up, like the yellow. So that's an R. Is there more?
I haven't seen any.
Oh! What? That was the easiest thing ever. I just had to line up the R correctly and the door opened. The weapon crate inside was a bit of a letdown, to be honest, but it did give me a blazing weapon mod and some resources that I would need to craft more tier 4 weapons. It took a little bit longer for Chad to figure it out, but once he made it inside, Chad got the loot crate as well, and his was much better than Carl's.
I just got a outer space. Tier IV +1?
Chad found a gold submachine gun.
Is tier IV, is that 6?
And Carl was very jealous. And that was pretty much everything here, so we fast traveled back to base, and I mined some gold ore, which I'm not exactly sure what that's for. But anyways, I disassembled a bunch of Rosetta technology. It's time for an upgrade. I had everything for this tier 4 purple assault rifle that I just found in that mystical crate. It has a special ability to trigger a burn when you hit 7 shots in a row, and the damage is absolutely insane. I also made a tier 4 assault rifle, but I only have the green SN700 BP from earlier, so the damage on that is pretty decent, but it's nowhere near as good as if it was a purple or even gold blueprint. But now that Carl had significantly upgraded his arsenal, and now that I had tier 4 weapons, instead of steel ammo, I can actually make tungsten. And I had just enough resources left to upgrade Carl's wardrobe. And Carl's glow up consisted of tier 4 armor, mostly blue, but I did have a couple purple blueprints. Chad was also cooking something up, and that pink and purple SMG on his back is actually a yellow legendary tier 4 SMG. We were ready for the boss fight. And now the question still stands, is the boss ready for Carl? It was now hour 23, and Carl and Chad were sprinting across the field. And our destination was another camp that was nearby. This one was super high level, and we wanted to test out our weapons before we committed to anything too dangerous. As we approached, there was a Rosetta soldier beefing with this zombie dude. I'm not really sure what happened here. Is that like a failed experiment or something? But it looked like some of Rosetta's experiments have escaped and turned on them. I tried to finish off the zombie guy, but he was immune to death, and then it just regenerated. And after Carl humbly saved the Rosetta soldier from immediate demise, he proceeded to unload flame rounds and barbecue that man. Tier 4 weapons do significantly more damage than tier 2, obviously, but this purple Cam AR blueprint with the fire damage was something different. I was doing about 5 times the damage that I was doing before, and Chad had a legendary yellow blueprint which was doing even more than Carl. We found another Rosetta access card, and we finished clearing out the area.
Something fanning me, come here.
And after grabbing the last rift anchor that we needed to start the boss fight, Carl eviscerated another failed bilingual experiment, and we headed back to regroup at base. It was time. So we marked the fire dust monolith on our map, and we began our road trip. But right outside the entrance were some Rosetta Stone guard dogs. The Forsaken Giant was a level 40 boss fight. We spawned in backstage of Carl's drama class, but in the hallway, the red curtains began to open, and the show was about to begin. The Deviants put on quite the choreography display, but once the show was over, the Forsaken Giant came out of the shadows, and it was now time for Carl to prove himself. It's now or never.
Oh my heavens.
Dude, I suck. Oh! I really gotta stop using it.
I like kind of how. Head. Top of the head. In the head. Colors. Never mind. Oh, she seems angry. Hand attacks coming. Roll. Like roll and you take less damage. I just got knocked off. I'm dead.
I'm dead too. And just like that, the legacy of Carl the Destroyer and his friend Chad had come to an end. Honestly, he got a lot further than I thought he would. I wish we would have had a little bit more time to start from phase 1 and actually finish the whole scenario, but we still got to play a big chunk and it was pretty fun. If you want to try it out for yourself, it's completely free and the link to download is in the description below. I'm gonna be back on Ark next, so don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more. And if you want to see a full 3-hour movie of me trying to beat Ark on 0 times harvesting rates, click right here.